Yeah, so we're back. Hi, sorry, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, we're back. We had some issues with the first video, and so we are live again. Okay, Omoti, thank you for joining. Juicy, Carlton, thank you for joining. I'm sure we'll have a better time this time around. Sorry about what we had, but while I'm talking, I'd love us to dance while I expect my co-host and then the host, who is Pastor Niyi, and then our guests. Again, I'm Dr. Vera James, and I am on Pastor Niyi Adesanya's Instagram handle today, and we're bringing to you live the Entreprenatal series, where we birth and nurture businesses, and that's what this is all about. Today we'll be having a lovely guest. I don't want to tell you about the person yet, as our host to do that for us today. So as you join in, please dance with us, and then we'll make it fast. I pray we're able to get our guests this time around. Yeah, she's here. My co-host is here.
Yes, I am. Hi,
Yeah.
viewers. Thank you so much. We're sorry for the glitches, but we're going to sort it out in a couple of minutes. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for your understanding. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time this evening.
I can't see your face.
You can't?
I can't, but it's okay. It's fine. Let's just have, I guess probably the network or something. Money King is still saying the same thing, that you are not able to get on the video.
I think he needs to update his app. I think he needs to update his Instagram app, or possibly join from another device.
That works. Money King, are you able to do that, please? Maybe join with someone else's device. Please drop a comment so that we would know the device you're joining us with, so we could accept that device as we progress. Please, let's do that so that I know that our guests, our viewers are super, super, super expectant. And I'm certain that today will be amazing as always. Hi, Tolutoro. Good evening. Good evening, Vivian. Good evening, Plus Gida. You're welcome. Good evening, Kingsley. Pastor Kingsley, hi. Good evening. Real Franklin, good evening. Lillian, good evening. Falake Ojo, good evening. Thank you all for joining us. We're having some kind of internet glitch, and I mean, we're used to it. Yeah, we're waiting. Thank you for staying. Thank you for staying. You know that anything Pastor Niyi brings is always very, very together. So he should join with someone else's device.
Sir,
yes, that's what we have told him.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Okay, so let's ask our audience. Please, can you hear us? Dave Peters, Real Franklin, can you hear us? Can you hear Vera? Can you hear Tosin? So we know that we are okay first before we expect our guest on the show. Please drop a comment to let us know if you can hear us. If you can hear Vera, and if you can hear Tosin. Bolade Lola, you're welcome. Makinjola, you're welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, they can hear us. Yeah, they can. So Thelma Juma just said she can hear. Okay. Yes. So we're good. Clearly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. 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 Very audible. Okay, so you can hear us. Can you see us? You can hear us. Can you see us? Oh, you can't see Tosin. Okay. Oh, Tosin is off the video now. I think it's our network again. She'll get back soon. Yippee, I just seen a request from Money King. I pray this works. I just saw your request, Money King, and I just accepted you. Fantastic. He's here. Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Hi.
Ah, so sorry. I'm sure it must have been really tough of getting on this live show. Okay, so hi guys. Our speaker is here. Money King is here, and we'll start right about now. But I would love my co-host to be here because she has. Thank you, Makinde. I can see you. Okay, I can see Dr. Vera. Thank you, Charlie Wise. Now, can you see our guest? Can you see our guest? And can you hear him? Please say something. Finally, thank you, Thelma. Finally, imagine. And yes, Tosin is coming live now. We're starting. Thank you all for staying. Fantastic. Everyone has stayed. Tosin, you're here. Welcome, welcome. Good. So we're starting now. Everyone is here. Tosin, welcome back. Tosin, we can see you.
She seems to be the one. She seems to be the one with the network. Tosin with the network.
It's not me. I'm here.
Okay. All right. So please go ahead. We have our speaker here.
All right. So we're just going to dive straight into it. No, without any further ado. Mr. Solomon, thank you so much for joining in today. We do appreciate your time, and we believe that now that you're on board, this is going to be absolute value for our viewers' time. Now, first things first, who qualifies to start a money lending business in Nigeria? What do you think is the right motive or the wrong motive for starting a money lending business? You could go ahead to also, first of all, tell us what you do, how you started. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. I think Solomon is just fine. The Mr. makes me uncomfortable. So Solomon is good. If you're going to use the prefix Mr., then I would choose Mr. King. That makes it still cool. So either ways, I'll be fine. I'm a lender. I'm largely a lender. I'm a trained finance professional, and I have a bias for alternative investment as an investment professional. But primarily, I invest into credit notes or loans, like people call them. And so lending is my forte, as it were. And I was trained first as a banker, now a chartered global investment analyst. I'm a fellow of the Institute of Credit Administration in Nigeria. In fact, I'm not just a fellow, I'm on the board of fellows there. So I live and eat credit administration for a living. So basically, that's a little background about me. Oh yes, as an investor and an investment advisor, I'm particular about other asset classes within the alternative investment space, but primarily 80% of my investment portfolio as an individual and of course as a leader of an investment company is into credit notes. So yes, I invest into loans and making such credits available. Now, to your question about who can start a lending business, anybody can. Anybody can decide to venture into lending. However, it is important that because you are 18 and you have 1 million naira does not quite qualify you to lend. Lending is a psychological thing. Lending is something that has to do with a lot of training. Lending is an understanding and a mastery of money before you can play that game. So anybody, if you say legally, if you're 18 and you have money to lend, my friend, go ahead and do it. However, as a business opportunity, like any other business opportunity there is, you will need to get requisite skills, requisite training to be able to understand how not to waste your money. because like every other kind of investment, without requisite knowledge, if you don't know what you're doing, waste is inevitable. You just give out loans, give out money as loans, and you don't find them later. And you spend more money trying to recover the loans than even making any profit in the first place. So you talked about motive and to check what's the right reason to do it. Well, is there a need for it? So the need for credit, the need for loans, the business opportunity where people need loans. Do you have a situation where there's a mismatch, a disequilibrium in the market where people are needing financing and you can provide that financing? Until there is a need, you will waste your funds if you are not meeting a need like every other business is. So basically, that's the right motive. The wrong motive, however, will be that, okay, you have money, somebody is begging you for it and you want to give it. You waste your money. You have money, the money is scratching you, scratching your bank account, and you cannot keep it to yourself and do something else. And you will just dash people money very freely in the name of lending. Amen, church. Amen.
Amen. Wow, Vera, I perceive we have a bag of gems. I mean, GEM, serious treasure, right? That we ought to hold on to.
Right.
So if you're just tuning into the Niyi Adesanya Entreprenatal series, I encourage you to head on to the chat section, begin to compose your questions, because here we're going to be taking all of your questions, because we have, you know, a great captain in this industry who is going to be sharing a lot of stuff with us about money lending. Now, you said quite a number of things, Solomon, and what I want to go on to say from there is that the fact that there is a need is a good reason to start the money lending business. But you said just anybody can start. So we're going to get into the requisite skills and knowledge later on. But I want to ask you, what are the statutory requirements? If just anybody can start the money lending business, what does the government require? What are the things I need to get? And I would appreciate if you array them in the order of priority. Thank you. Because we can't see you.
You can't see me?
No,
No, it's just loading.
oh, no, I think that's from your end. I can see him clearly.
Shebi,
Really? Oh, fine.
I was using your network just now. I was using your network just now.
I'll just assume I'm on radio. Let's go. Take it away.
All right. I may not be able to clearly itemize this in a certain order because I learned money lending on the street. It was as a response. Yeah. I was first a banker. Yes. I was trained in credit administration in banking, but as a business opportunity, as a business model, I learned a lot of things experientially. So I can't tell you in clear terms that, okay, step one, you do this, step two, you do this. However, I will give you an overview of the lending market in our country, in Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria is the apex banking regulatory body. So commercial banks, mortgage banks, microfinance banks, and to a large extent, the whole banking activities of the nation is regulated by the CBN. The CBN largely provides direction, laws, and ethics and regulations for banking activities. You must understand, as a background, that lending and money lending is pure banking. That's also what it is. It's money from who has it to money to who needs it. So
absolutely.
It's pure banking. And so the apex banker of any country is usually the major regulator. That said, the CBN is not the only regulator that there is in this market. Federal government, at the federal level, the CBN, so commercial banks, report to them, mortgage banks report to them, microfinance banks report to them. There are some other companies that are described as finance companies. Okay, so you have them around. They're not called microfinance banks, they're not called banks. Okay, they're just called finance houses or finance companies. These people are also regulated by the CBN, which means that you need to get the license. Like at the moment, our company, Brass and Books, we're getting a national microfinance license, so that we want to buy a bank, a microfinance bank, because so that way, if we're going into microfinancing and banking, as it were, with that name, bank, in there, you're going to need to be dealing with the CBN. Then I'm not so sure if asset management firms and stockbrokers do direct lending like we do it. However, those ones are also, well, they do some financial activities, and so the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has a hold on them. So stockbroking firms, asset management firms, and the financial advisory companies all over the place also would be regulated by that. And so SEC also provides license in that area. Then you also have what is described as non-bank financial institutions. And these ones fall into...
Yes, I was going to get to that.
Yeah, so these ones fall into different purviews. Sometimes they're cooperatives, sometimes they're just organizations. But you see, the non-bank financial institutions are also regulated either by state governments, like in our case, because every state has a bureau for cooperative development or a ministry that handles issues around cooperatives. And if you realize, cooperatives, or we call them cooperatives in Nigeria, but in other parts you hear words like credit unions, you hear words like credit and thrift societies and unions. All these people are lenders. They're all in the lending business. However, they're regulated at different levels. What we do, for example, is we have a series of such organizations in different cities registered in each city. So if you find a branch of our company in any city, it is registered in that location as an independent entity. So this is for people who are interested in the business structure as their lending businesses grow. But so in every city where you are, there's somebody who regulates that. Then there is also this part where the magistrate court, maybe the chief magistrate court, or a magistrate court gives you a money lending license. So there's a procedure from CAC, from CAC, from CO2, I believe they got all those their form, all those their CAC forms, them CO2, CO7, all those things, and then you can probably get a lawyer to help you go through that, but you can get a money lending license from a court in the jurisdiction where you are. So these are several levels to it. And you can just stay as a lender without having to necessarily be a bank, quote and unquote. So you can.
Okay, so this is a direct question. How long did you stay as a lender before you got the license?
I started with the license first before I started lending.
But before you started lending on the streets, you mentioned that.
Before we ever engaged anybody in lending, we got licenses first.
Okay, so to everyone listening out there, it's important for you to note that before you ever start lending, you need to get the license, because a lot of people literally just start lending from one corner somewhere, and they do not understand the consequences, because that industry is highly, highly regulated. But I'll move on to the next question now. Sorry, Mr. Solomon, we just have to keep punching on all the questions so that all the juice can start coming out, because it took us a long time before we actually started sailing. Now, talking about capital, there's a regular thing on the CAC form where everybody registers their business with 1 million naira, all right? But you and I know that that is not the actual capital that is required to start a business. So in the case of money lending, what would you advise to be the sizable amount of capital anyone can start with, and also the source of that capital? if I want to start a money lending business, should I just collect money from any random person who has loose cash, all right, and then I begin to start looking for who will come and borrow? Or should I just start with the little that I have? Over to
Awesome.
you.
For any business, like money lending is, please always write out a business plan. And in that business plan, you're going to be clear about a lot of things. Who are you going to be lending to? How much do they need? Are you going to be lending to small local time players? Are you going to be lending to big time players, or are you going to be lending to mid players? So what your market requires is going to determine the amount of capital you really need. So 5,000 to 20 people is lending. 5 million to 20 people is lending. So it depends on who you choose to service. Now, there's also the pattern of starting where you can really bootstrap it, which is how we started. We started with savings before we got into loans. So we did the retail savings of going into the market, collect our job 500 from, so we went through that process. And at that level, there's a limit to what you can give out as loans because you don't have so much. So the issue about capital is largely up to you. It's largely up to what you can muster. If you have personal funds that are good enough, great. If you don't have, then you maybe want to get a few friends and go the route of joining with people to get that done. It's really, there's no hard and fast rule to it. It's just very situational. That being said, I won't ask you to go and borrow out. That's not, except you have mastered it, because especially as a newbie, you don't want to borrow money to borrow to another person. You probably run mad in the long run. So ensure that you've mastered the ropes, made your mistakes before you want to now begin to acquire debt as a form of capital to capitalize your business. So that, because we, for example, had a season where we had losses up to, like, I'm talking several years ago, up to 6 million. I will not be able to sleep well in the night. My wife is driving on the road and they are calling her, only, brass and books, only. And, so you want to spare yourself a lot of trouble and just ensure that you have mastered lending as a business opportunity before you want to go and involve people's funds in it. Stay safe and don't wound yourself. So this is my take on that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great. Somebody says loan drive is a major drive. Honestly, it is. I've worked in the credit sector for a while. I started from a commercial bank and then an investment company, and I know how it is. All right. So keep the questions coming. I can see a question here. Someone is asking about rates.
We've
all right,
like
and we're going to get into that.
I'm noting them. So let's just take what we have.
Okay, so let's just keep going, and as we go on, Vera, is the question, if the questions are not answered, then we can take them,
right
up front. Okay, so speaking about investors, how to start, whether you're starting small, starting at the mid-level, or starting at very large scale. The thing is, how do you manage investors' expectations when it comes to returns? How do you, let me just put it that way, how do you manage investor expectations in terms of returns?
Thank you. There's something that we call funds mismatch, or matching of funds generally in finance. And that involves the concept where short-term funds should be used for short-term investment purposes. Long-term funds should be used for long-term investment purposes. Therefore, in accepting funds from investors, your treasury or your treasury unit wants to be sure what is the duration of this fund. 90 days, 120 days, 2 years, 5 years, depending on how long that money is there for. So it's the amount of time you have from the investors that dictates what the duration of your loans will be. Again, in the fund, in the structure of the investment that you give to your investors, you will be telling the investors This is how much returns you are going to get at what period. Is it on a monthly basis? Is it on a quarterly basis? Would your return reach you biannually once every 6 months? That conversation and decisions made with your investor is what is going to help you structure your loans appropriately. So if it is a monthly loan, if it's a monthly arrangement you have with your investors, I'm going to pay una 1%, 2% every month. It means the money you are going to make available to your borrowers is got to follow that structure. Yes, it's got to follow that structure too. So if you are going to be providing working capital of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, because your investor horizon time is short, you've got to just match your funds. So usually in managing investor expectation, it's largely about the structure of the loans that you make available. And that is only going to happen if you master matching and you know how to balance your treasury. Because in every business, as is lending as a business, cash flow is key. Cash flow is key. You have to ensure that money is coming in and money is going out. Money is going out to the people who own the money as that when due, because that's how investor confidence increases and they bring more money to you. You also have to ensure that your borrowers get money when they need it. And you also have to ensure that the work that you're doing with your team ensures that these people who borrow money from you and the structure of the loans that you give ensures that money comes in regularly. So largely, in fact, this is the crux of the business model. It is this matching, it is this understanding, this treasury management that is the major issue in the whole business model of money lending.
Thank you so much, Solomon. And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time. This is the Niyi Adesanya Entreprenatal series. It comes up every Thursday. So if you're getting, all of this treasured information on this platform, please mention your friends in the comment section so that they can also join in as well. You can do well to forward the link to them. Let them be a part of this series as we proceed. Now, Mr. Solomon, thank you so much. And I like the fact that we have addressed the capital aspect. Now, what I want us to talk about is the human resource aspect. Yeah, as a startup, how many people do I need in the money lending business? And in what capacity do I need them? As in basic, because what we do here is to give people the practical skill, the practical knowledge, right? We don't just come here to verbose and say big grammar and do all the perspire to acquire to retire before you retire.
I'm hoping that I'm not being verbose. I'm hoping that I'm not aspired to persuade you.
No. It's not about verbal prowess. It's not about rhetorics but we're not displaying verbal prowess. We are giving people nuggets, advice, all right? Because we are bringing veterans and captains of industries who have made mistakes in the past. And trust me, there are some things you have said already that someone who is venturing into this kind of business already knows that they need to avoid, all right? Especially this mismatch that you said. I mean, anybody who is listening out there, if you can watch this video again, watch it again, because that fund mismatch is actually a very important aspect of money lending. So tell us, who do I need on my team as a starter?
Okay, we're having issues with your network again, but I'm hoping that I got the question. See, I like the fact that you try to make it as basic as possible. The first person you need in the lending business is yourself. And you need to understand numbers. You need, when I mean numbers, you need basic accounting. I'll tell you a quick story. When we first started out, this was several years ago, about 2012, 2011, 2012, we hired somebody who came in as an accountant. The manager at the time was somebody who's great at business development, but she wasn't so fantastic with financial accounting. So every time we had funds come into the business, from depositors, from savers. My people, this accountant recorded it as income, spendable income, revenue. And they didn't make new loans per se. So, and my oversight wasn't also very strong. So it took like 3-4 months. And one time when they came asking me for money, and I'm like, you guys are the ones lending money. Now, why are you coming to borrow money from me? Something is wrong in there. So when I went in there and I checked the books, I realized that what was being described as fantastic money that was going to the bank was people's monies that we were owing. And by the time I realized it, there was a lot of liquidity mismatch that happened, and we had to now recapitalize, shut down, recapitalize, and get it right. So you first, you who is starting the business first, and if you don't know anything about accounting, go and sit down and learn accounting, at least basic financial accounting. I'm not gonna lie you. It's not, let's not even play about it. You've got to understand what income is, what expenses are. You've got to know what interest income is, what is interest expenses, because interest has two faces. It's income, it is also expense. Okay, you've got to know accounting. You've got to be able to see a person's financial statement and analyze it.
I'd like you to take that again. So I don't want anyone to miss that. When you said profit, or rather interest has two sides of interest. Somebody says, oh, that's my interest, and you think it's your profit, but he has said something that we shouldn't miss. So please take it again.
Interest has two sides to it, especially in the lending business. There's interest on loans, and then there's interest expense. So that interest on loans is money that comes to you, or that is actually your revenue now, is the interest on the loans that you've given out. Then there's the interest expense, which is the expense that you pay to the guy who borrowed you money in the first place to do the business, if you borrowed money. So interest has two sides to it, and you don't just want to suddenly think that every money that comes in needs to be spent in total, because again, you've got to service the business. So the depositors' funds, or funds that come to you from wherever it is, even your capital, is not for the chewing, it's not for the eating. See, there's no way I'm going to describe this better than go and sit down and take a course in basic financial accounting. Understand accounting if you're going to be in the money lending business. You see, accounting is the language of business. Numbers, financial accounting, numbers is the language of business. Any true business person has this fundamentally cleared out. So if you are going to be in money lending business, you yourself need to go to school and understand the basics of numbers, the basic of the economy, prices, inflation, GDP, all these things. Now, school where you go need to go.
Yeah. If I need to come in here, please, Solomon.
Yes,
so how do you now pay taxes? I mean, give us an insight on taxes in this kind of business that you do. So on what do you pay taxes?
You pay taxes after you have gotten your interest on loans, the interest that the borrowers pay you back. Okay, that interest element, you deduct all your expenses, everything that it cost you to be able to get that loan to be repaid. So that difference will give you something that is called a gross profit. And then you also have other expenses that are administrative, transportation, everything. It's at the end of that you can get a net profit from which you can pay taxes from. You don't even pay taxes from just the interest on loans, because there are several other things that you have done that helped you make that interest on loan. And so taxation comes after you get a certain amount of profit, and that only happens after you have deducted everything it cost you to do business, electricity, everything. But you must understand that some dues don't follow this law. You can't tell the local government boys when they show up that you have not made net profit. They don't send your father all those kind of messages. So So you pay those internal revenue, all those, they call them levies, okay, and you do that until after all those are paid that you can now begin to think about FIRS if you are working as a federal establishment or the state revenue service that you're in. And then if you go the route of cooperatives are treated as non-profit organizations, and to an extent they're tax exempt. That's another issue totally.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. People are really having a good time on this platform right now, and it's because we are actually giving them all of the practical steps that they need. So he has said quite a number of things. You need to get the requisite knowledge. If you're already on this platform, you have ventured into a money-making business.
I didn't quite finish that question.
What?
Before another.
Yeah, you didn't finish, but okay. So you talked about having the necessary accounting knowledge.
You should be good with numbers and understanding the economy and understanding lending process. Take a course in lending. There are courses all over the place on lending. Okay. Credit administration generally, take a course in that. There's this one that I recommend. It's a bit expensive, but it's really great. It gives you a total overview of it. It's called Certified Banking and Credit Analyst, CBCA, Certified Banking and Credit Analyst. It is provided by the Corporate Finance Institute in the US. Awesome certification. You can finish it in a month or two, depending on how fast you are with it. It is self-paced, and so I took that.
But it's in the US. Are you sure that it's going to apply to us here? How about credit bureaus, CRC, FITC in Lagos? They do credit training.
I don't live in Lagos, for example. I live in Bayelsa. Do you understand?
Oh, I see.
And there's a lot of things, and you must respect the fact that a lot of the things you know about finances in Nigeria, they are borrowed courses from the US and the UK. I'll give you a quick example. So we had some issues at some point with credit administration at some point. Then when I took the CBCA course, I learned about floating charge. Floating charge that allows you to charge a person's all their assets, everything they have in their life beyond. And by the time I learned about that from that course, I told my lawyer, see, there's something like this. Go and look for it and ensure that you apply it to our credit administration process. And that thing has saved me a whole lot. So yes, I give regard and respect to the courses that we have here. I'm sure you have some credit administration courses in CIBN. The institute where I'm a fellow, the Institute of Credit Administration, has courses on all this. But what readily comes to mind for me, no vexo, na CBCA.
Thank you.
We did. No wala. Yeah. Thank you so much. So who else do I need on my team, apart from me? I need to know the people I will recruit.
You also need to allow the business grow organically. Be careful as to gathering a lot of people on the team. Let the market dictate how you grow. That said, everything you need, everything that I have said that you need as an individual, anybody who is joining you needs that too. You also need somebody who is strong with selling. Sales is a major issue in any business, and lending is not different. Somebody who can get into the market and tell somebody who doesn't need a loan that he needs it. In fact,
preferably an experienced hand.
Well, experience and good though. I know they argue with you. Experience and good. Any hand.
But they don't lend that to join.
Any hand that you're getting needs to follow your structures and systems. See, the issue in the money lending business is not so much about who's joining, it's who is being joined. I keep saying that. So when they come in, what structures do they meet? What are your policies? What are your systems? In
your culture and your values.
In 10 years, we've been in existence in 10 years. lending money. In 10 years, I've changed banking softwares 4 times because they kept not meeting my needs, and we kept changing them until we'll find the one that we're using now. It's CBN approved, you know. So because as the organization grows, you will be adding people. You'll be adding people. You add low-level staff, people who maybe are school sats, OND, who help you go and collect the daily collections. You will add people who understand credit and can do credit administration. You will add people who have big chests that can go to the market. Oh, I'm not
We
kidding.
will get to that aspect of this. Because I'm sure I've seen quite a number of questions in that line.
So
about debt recovery, yes.
Yeah, so you add people, and then something I said in our conference that passed the other day at the money conference, I said that our informal structures in Africa are stronger than our formal structures. What big chest can help you achieve, it will take you every 5 years in the courts before you're able to get that same amount of money. This is the part in the show I say, verify, yeah, move on.
Okay, thank you so much, Solomon. So I think we just rounded up on who needs to join my team as a newbie in the money lending business. Now, what I want us to consider, although you almost mentioned it, but we just need to really run fast. It's about fintech and money lending. At what point do I become techie?
As soon as you can. As soon as you can. In fact, if you can start lending from the fintech space, good for you. However, fintechs these days are largely regulated. In fact, there are these days even more sterner regulations for fintechs than even the regular commercial banks. And that's another issue entirely. So if you're coming into the fintech space, expect CBN breathing down on you heavy. First, before you get a fintech license, you're coughing out a minimum of 100 million, 110 as of today, you know. So however, you can get techie with whatever form of license that you get. If you are able to now use credit bureaus, if you are able to use infrastructure and software that helps you do the work as you should do it. So let's also understand that fintech is not necessarily a business model. Fintech is an enabler of an already existing business space, financial technologies. So whatever transaction that is going on in the financial space, yes, I can come from online and do banking and say I'm a Kuda bank or I'm a digital bank. You know, you can say that, but you must understand that technology, whatever you want to use it in, is first helping you do what you already do better. So if you want to start out as a fintech company, registered as a fintech company, then your business is with the CBN. And the time it will take to get that license and the drama and the dance, you know, but you can start out in the informal way and take up your operations. That's also a great avenue to go by. So either ways it works, but fintech is great. When we started, you needed to fill forms in brass envelopes and everything. But right now, from start till your money gets to us and goes out back, we probably will not see you. So we grew the other way. Technology met us on the road. For some people, if you want to wait, you can start with technology as you go, but depends.
All right, and that also likely depends on who your customers are. But I think today, a lot of people,
what city you're in, like somebody is watching us from Zamfara now.
Their phones and all.
I've had people watch us from, somebody sent me a message saying he's watching live from Zamfara. So it depends on the city where you are. And the thing about money lending, that makes me really love it, is it works great in the big cities and works great in the small towns. It's an amazing business model that will fly in any community as it were. In fact, there's a money lender in every corner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the interest rates. As a starter, is there a standardized rate that I need to start with? What's the highest? What's the lowest? When do I start shooting myself in the leg?
Awesome.
unknowingly?
First things first. Whatever license that you get always comes with a prescribed approved rate. Cooperatives have a rate that you mustn't pass. There's a banking lending rate. Even the money lenders license at the Kilonje level, at the state level, at the magistrate court level, at the
State
magistrate court level also has a recommended rate that you see there. And every state, most states have a money lenders law or money lenders act. Hey, you can't do any business in this country without mastering the law of that business. Don't deceive yourself. So if money lending is something that you're interested in, you've got to master the law that governs you. And in that law, you certainly will find a prescribed rate. That's one. Secondly, the cost of your capital is one of the major issues that is going to determine how much you lend out that money. If you get the money at 1%,
please, what does cost of capital mean?
Nadia,
Sorry, what does cost of capital
you go
mean?
see me for front. No worry.
Okay. I just want this short.
No,
so
I deal with you. Don't worry. So, cost of capital is how much it costs you to get the capital from wherever you got it from. Even from if it's your personal funds, it costs you something. If it's borrowed funds, which is most likely where the word cost of capital applies the most, if it's borrowed funds, there's an amount that you have agreed to pay back from whoever gave it to you. Even if it's your personal fund, how much do you want to make from that money that you are investing? Because every business, whether it's in entrepreneurship or it is in other business, it is you investing some money into something with an expectation behind it. So your cost of capital is how much it is going to cost you to get that capital available to the borrower. And this is huge. For us, for example, we pay our investors nothing less. The least investor from Brass& Books gets about 3%, 4%, depending on the investment policy that they have. So you see that as I'm starting as I'm coming to the market, I already have 3% that I am owing every month. Then add insurance on those loans, 1% to it. Add your overhead, fuel. Add your overhead, fuel, transport, salaries, all that to the cost element. Then it will now show you how much you're able to lend out that money to the borrower. So again, these are the things that you need to know to be able to lend effectively. Cost of capital is key. So if you know how much, for example, I come to you and I say, my sister, give me 5 million out of the money with your hand. I will give you 2% every month or 3% every month. You say, Solomon, this your investment is too low now. Give me 3.5%. That 3.5% is the first cost. I pay transport to come and talk to you. All those things. By the time we are done with costing that capital that got to me in the first place, it was probably 4%. Then Mr. James comes to meet me and say, oh, Solomon, I'm your guy now. Borrow me this money. My guy, to borrow you this money, I need to pay you who has given me the money first, 3.5%. So again, it brings the matter down to matching of funds, brings the matter down to cost of capital and understanding. So you're thinking cost of capital, you're thinking duration available, you are thinking your overhead, your salaries, staff salaries, rent, all that, and you're deducing that into the total cost of the loan. That's how you know how much you are going to give it out. You must also think about insurance or some stuff.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Solomon.
Someone is asking a direct question now. She's saying, button up NG says, are your rates monthly or annually? So it looks like she wants to come do business with you. So she wants to know if your rates are monthly or annually.
So we finance working capitals. We expect interest on the loans that we give to come in on a monthly basis so that we can pay our clients their dividends on a monthly basis. Worst case scenario, quarterly. We ensure that once every 3 months investors get some money. So monthly and quarterly liquidity is key for us, both as a business and as investors and borrowers. I like money flowing through. I'm very heavy on cash flow. It should flow in, it should flow out. Let everybody be happy as we are doing the matter. So that's what it is.
Exactly. So that means you should consider more of loans that, because the borrowers have to pay back on a monthly basis.
There are different structures by which your loan can take, because different loans are required for different reasons. So some loans are personal loans, some loans are business working capital loans, some loans are project financing, some loans are receivable financing. It just depends on what the deal is, and then you structure the loan to ensure that investor is happy, business is happy, borrower is okay, and Nigeria has not shut down. Amen.
Amen. So we have a huge community here today, and this is Niyi Adesanya Entreprenatal clinic. I hope he's going to approve of this clinic that I'm adding. But this is Entreprenatal, and we do this every Thursday, right? And it's also important for you to join the Niyi Adesanya community, because we gather regularly, all right, to learn from him. And not just him, he brings in other veterans to have discussions with us on how to achieve success in life, whether in business, relationships, and all sorts. I've been with him for almost a year now, and it's been absolutely wonderful. So what you want to do is
fantastic.
Amazing, right? So what you want to do, if you're out there and you're wondering what's going on here, head on to Niyi Adesanya's bio, and then click on the link so that you can sort of register to be part of this community. Being a part of this community is free for the Thursdays and the Friday and the Saturday series. On Saturday, we're going to be having a webinar on Zoom. So please just head on to his bio, make sure you register. Your email address is what is important, and you will be getting all of the updates that you require. Vera, maybe we should start taking our questions one by one, because I still have loads of questions.
Yeah, so that our participants will also have their own questions answered. Kobo Tunaira said something about your take on digital cooperative. The person wants to know if he or she wants to get on digital cooperative, how can he or she register?
Awesome. That's the future, really, of the cooperative thing. We will not sit down together and do all those noise making anymore. We'll be meeting on Zoom, we'll be meeting on WhatsApp, and so taking cooperative digital is actually the future. It is what it is. Most of our branches and most of the meetings that we have with our clients, our client members, like we call them, are online. So getting a digital cooperative is the way forward. It's easy to start. These days, the regulators are also a bit malleable. They understand, say, COVID don't change a lot of things. So it's the way to go. It's something to do, and it's easy. It's more profitable. It cuts a lot of your overhead. I don't need to buy you refreshments when you come. We can be there and be grumbling.
Fantastic.
So it's just awesome. So digital cooperative, absolutely, I agree.
So the question again, the person is asking, how can he or she register one? I mean,
well,
is there any
go to any cooperative ministry or any ministry that handles cooperative affairs in your city. Usually the state secretariat, you'll find a bureau there or an office that registers cooperative. Tell them you want to register a cooperative. They give you a form of a sort. You get your members. Your meetings are online, okay, but beyond the fact that they are online and it's digital, you always would have the resolutions that you made, the agreements that you've agreed to. Make that available and just register it. Cooperatives at the moment are still very easy to register in certain cities. In Lagos, it is hard work now. In Lagos, it is a whole industry on its own. In fact, they have now turned to CBN. So with different area offices and everything, but you still will get your license, depending on where you are, depending on who your quote unquote area officer is. But walk up to them, say you want to register a cooperative, be nice. And when I mean be nice, have sense. I will not use my mouth to say everything. So if you're nice,
be nice.
if you're nice enough, they will repay your kindness and help you fast track that. So there are dozens of cooperatives all over the place. If you make yours digital, oh well and good.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question talked about basic requirements. I mean, what basic requirements do you ask people who come, your borrowers? Now, what do you ask them to give you? What kind of collateral and all of that? So someone wants to know.
All right.
So basically, your risk acceptance criteria.
I know, you know that I read that thing that you posted, so I know that you know these things. Don't come and be using all this big grammar to be disturbing me. Risk acceptance criteria. Don't that thing that you're doing there now. Okay, so
we're in it together.
Yeah, you're feeling like one credit analyst now that's harassing Nigeria. You better calm down there.
I did tell you. You don't see say I wear them. You don't see say I wear them.
Sorry. Okay, so a few things. First, I need to know your history financially. So if I can get a bank statement or anything that shows me what your behavior has been with money, it helps me know whether I can deal with you. So your bank statement will help. 6 months usually would be a good pointer. But because I play largely in the informal sector a lot, you don't quite get a very robust, meaningful bank statement. So what you now ask for is, okay, where your Isusu card then they? How many places where you get Isusu? You know, so there are things that you look out for that shows you the person's financial history. You also want to check up their credibility. So you do a KYC, visit their shop. Some of them will lie. Some of them will not tell you the truth. So behind them, you go behind their backs and check up their neighbors, their communities, and see who this person is. You also want guarantors. Guarantors for us at the first baseline of collateralization. You know, so beyond your character, beyond your capacity, you know, there are some people who come to you who say they want to do business and they've never really done that business before. There are some people who come to take a loan from you for a business they have never attempted before in their life, you know, and so you check for character, you check also for their good name, their goodwill, you check for their capacity. Then they also should have some money. Who is borrowing money cannot have total zero. So there is some money around you. What's your contribution in the game? So you have that. It's quite a list. As our company grew, as Brass and Books grew, I've stopped administering credit directly anymore. I'm more strategic and growth and all that. But if you show up and you say you want a loan, some of these things are the things that we check. Again, in assessing whether a person can take a loan or otherwise, there's the general cardinal 5 C's of credit, you know, the competence, the character, the capacity, the total economy, the condition of the economy. You know, again, there are some businesses that you should not be funding or providing loans for because their season has passed. If somebody comes to me now and says he wants to borrow money to start cyber cafe, I know that he's not feeling fine.
You won't get your money back.
You've taken the question out of my mouth, but I'll still get to that question. Go ahead.
So the criteria, the things that we...
You said 5 C's. You said 5 C's, and you've listed 4 of them. So competence, character.
I don't remember the last one. I remember
the last one is collateral. It's collateral. Collateral. Not collateral.
Sorry. Now it's good that you're here, Seth, so that you help me to answer collateral. And
it's been quite insightful. It's been quite insightful. Thank you so much. So let me take, before she goes on to our questions again, so we don't miss out on this question. Samuel says, in fact, 2 questions asking the same thing. So I'll read both. how do we get our money back from lenders? Because it is quite difficult. I mean, maybe borrowers.
Borrowers.
How do you recover a loan? How do you recover a loan going bad?
All right. So the health of a loan is most likely going to be indicated from the process. Every time I've had a bad loan, at least a major bad loan, I was not objective. So the first key thing will be objectivity and following your loan processes appropriately. As I speak to you right now, there's a loan.
Sorry, please. I think you need to emphasize that. What do you mean by you were not objective? Does that mean that you skipped some parts?
Yes. So when you come to our place, we have, say, like 13, 14 loan criteria. As informal as supposedly that we are, we still have as much as, I think on that list, you have like 13, 14 things that we need to tick. There's a loan administration, there's a credit administration checklist that we tick. Every time a loan goes bad, it's because we deliberately overlook some things. And when you do that, it'll be waiting for you in front. So objectivity is usually very key, and follow the structure that you have set out. Most time,
even if it is my brother coming to
now Shebi, that's this thing I wanted to tell you before you now cut me. So there is a loan request that I have now from somebody very close to me. In fact, he's a celeb. When I say celeb, he's a big boy in Nigeria. And that loan is going to go bad before it started.
True. Nice.
I know. So what I need to now do as a lender is to ensure that I put structures in place to ensure that that money is not going to go bad if I don't want to waste the money. However, if I've made up my mind that this money, I can let it go, I can waste it, it's fine. Every time I've lost money in the lending space, it's because the lending criteria that is agreed upon by the credit committee that we set out, immediately you don't follow it, you're going to mess up that loan. So how do you know that the loan is going to go bad? When you're not objective, when you're emotional. You'll be emotional about your brother. You'll be emotional about your neighbor. You'll be emotional about your sister's son. You'll be emotional. And every time there is emotion in investing, you corrode that process. It's called corrosion, and you just mess up your money. So therefore, my take is this. When you set rules and standards, robust rules and standards for lending, follow them through, and then you may not, that reduces the amount of bad loans that you're likely to encounter, number one. Number two, if you compromise on certain things, when it's time to recover that loan, your voice is not strong. You're not able to be all forceful. However, if you follow through, you can say, okay, this thing is in our agreement. We agreed to this, and then you can fight it out. In loan recovery, that's about one of the other major tough parts of the business. But if your guys are making the recoveries early, you can tell when a loan is going to go bad. If our agreement is you're supposed to pay this amount every week, by the first week he's not paying, by the second week he's not paying, don't wait for him to mess the money up. Begin to know that immediately the timelines are not being followed, get on the road. Put your team up there. And because in my case, I'm even very brutal as a lender because the money will be my own. And I'm very particular about my name. You know, so I have investors' funds, close to $4 million in my custody. I don't want anybody calling me names, so we're very heavy on loan recovery, and we go about it early enough. So two things: if you miss the timelines, you may miss your money. But more importantly, if you follow the structure. In fact, there was one loan recently. The person who guaranteed the loan had an investment with me. By the time the loan was going bad, we held down the investment, locked the man up inside toilet on one occasion, call everybody that you get that money, and you've got to be brutal about it. Hey, this man that they locked up inside the toilet, he used to be my very loved lecturer. I loved him as my lecturer in the university. He was like a mentor of his sort because that guy used to speak very sweet, sweet English that time. But when he got to paying this, to be vehement about chasing those monies from the start. And so because this is where your credibility as an investment company or as a lending company becomes at stake. Recovery. Don't let the loans go bad. Don't be emotional about lending in the first place. If a person does not meet your lending criteria, let them know they don't meet it. The minute you're emotional about it and you're not objective, you will lose money. It's like that in every form of investment. It's even more like that in lending.
Right.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm hearing that strategy for
So
the
I was
first
going
time.
to ask,
Lock him up in the
can
toilet.
informal people do this as well? I mean, for those who just, I have 200,000 naira somewhere. Somebody says, borrow me, and then you give the person. Can they also recover loans with what you just explained? Because, I mean, there are no licenses. There's actually nothing in place. So what's your advice for them?
Without a license, the law doesn't back you up.
Right.
And if the law doesn't back you up, whatever you're doing becomes illegal. And then now you may now be charged for human rights violation. So from the onset, that's why I said from the onset, get a legal backing for whatever it is. And the magistrate court thingy is really easy. Those guys are always looking for money in the judiciary. So you came to register money lenders, they will give you sharply, they will help you organize this thing. You know, just be nice, like I said again, be nice to the clerks. If you are nice to the court clerks, everything will go well with you.
Fantastic.
Wow, thank you so much, Solomon. So I because of our time, I think I'll just take one question and then Vera will reel out all of the other questions. And the question is about acceptable forms of businesses that one can lend to, considering the advent of COVID-19, right? So I believe that you, as a lender, you should have a list of prohibited businesses that you do not fund, prohibited goods, right, that you cannot finance.
I cannot finance
and
cocaine.
So with the advent of COVID,
I cannot finance cocaine.
Yeah, you know, stuff like that. But with the advent of COVID, right, some of these money lending companies would have had to amend this list. Maybe some things that were not in it before will now have been included, and some things that were in it will now be excluded. Could you tell us something about that, you know, so that people listening can learn? And sorry, by the way, let me just drop here in case I go off and I don't see me again. Now my battery die.
We're rounding up. Don't worry, we're rounding up.
You just literally take it up from there. I mean, it's connected to power bank, but it's really low. Yeah. So take it away,
great.
Solomon.
With COVID, our economies became subsistence. Subsistence meaning that food, health, shelter, you know, it became that basic. And so we as a company have always focused on basic lending. I don't do very ephemeral things that I don't quite understand. I'm a very basic lender because with subsistence lending, you're able to also get quick cash flow and service your investors, and everybody is going good. So with COVID, the sectors of the economy that work is what you fund, because again, that's what financing is about. You provide access to finance, fund goods and services that are working. So food is good, agriculture is good, and even in agriculture, it's got to be short time, because I can't give you money to go and be doing one very long-term project in agriculture. Okay, don't be disturbing me with those kind of things. You know, so food, even clothing is how do you describe it now? Is relative. Telecommunications, huge this season. Health, absolutely huge. Data, we've talked about telecommunications. So the things that are basic that help us live our life right now, water, you know, so those are the things that you want to lend to. the things that are hugely heavy infrastructural may not work. Take, for example, long-term real estate, 10 years. Calm down. We're not even sure we're going to see the next 2 years. They're talking about 10 years real estate. Let's be very clear. You know, so especially as a lender, okay? As a long-term investor, keeping money for your children, no problem. But in lending, you want to slow down on things that are unnecessarily too long and too far. You're thinking about short-term circles and anything that can make the money go in and come out and meet the basic needs of the people. Physiological needs, fiscal needs, health needs. Those are the things that you want to be lending to in a COVID and post-COVID era. So
what are the things you must stop lending to?
I've said it. The things that are unnecessarily long. Contracts, for example, are you sure the government is going to be there to pay you? You know, so contracts, long-term projects, there's certain financing that you can do in this season, especially anything that affects short-term liquidity. So look at that in that perspective.
Right. Okay. Someone is asking about.
Sorry, Vera.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just this last thing, please. sorry. I beg it. See, in this industry now, how can one disrupt this industry? What would you consider a next disruptive move in this industry?
Lending with cryptocurrency. Using blockchain in lending business. It go pieces the game. Harnessing blockchain technology in lending that's the next phase of this game, because we already have fintechs that are making things. We already have situations where somebody can give a loan without seeing you, without knowing you. They start and end the whole process. So we're already at that phase. What will now be is using blockchain to change the whole narrative, make it 7 seconds. So you get a loan in 7 seconds. That's where we are going to, and that will be the future. And we're already looking at that. We're already committing resources and funds.
Money King is taking us there, straight up.
So we're already committing funds to that, to ensuring that, because blockchain is the next phase of financial technology, no doubt. That's where we're all headed to. So a disruptor is somebody who goes in that direction early enough.
Right, fantastic. Okay, thank you. One last question on the show. I think that's from I am Samson something. It says, what software do you use? You talked about software earlier that you have tried for, and then you just settled for this one now. So he wants to know what software you used, and he's asking for recommendations too.
It's a very good question, no? But those boys, they don't pay me now for this advert that I want to run for them.
I was going to say that too.
Oh yeah, let's talk in the DM on that matter.
All right.
Okay, so please send him a DM. And sorry, I think one thing I need to mention here quickly, for those in the Niyi Adesanya community and those who are just joining us today, please follow his Instagram page, but also note that there are scammers out there. His Instagram handle is Adesanya. There are no full stops, no dots, no underscore, no space, no titles, just Adesanya. Beware of scammers and fraudsters out there.
All right, thank you so much. I think we'll be ending this. It's been very insightful. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, the Money King. Right. So you need to also follow the Money King. For that person who he has invited to his DM, please go there and ask the question you asked. Yeah. And then for anyone who wants to get a loan, you see, it's very easy. Just 13 steps and you get your loan from him. So just follow him. I need to get that well. So you want to help us put that on your handle. And Oluchostos, please drop your handle also, Oluchostos, so that people can join and can follow you too. Pastor Niyi, one of the things he does for us on this program is so that people can also follow you and learn from you. So please follow the Money King. The King is KYNG. And please write it so that's money.kyng. And Olutostos is OLUTOSTOS. And I am Vera James GC. So thank you for joining us on today's episode. I'm sure it was really insightful because for me, I mean, every question I had in my mind has been dealt with. And like we've always said, what we do here is we make it as real can be. I mean, there's no story. If you are taking notes from this session, you would agree with me that if you want to, you have more insights right now as to how to do this thing called money lending. Thank you so much, the Money King. It's been an amazing session with you. Thank you, my co-host Olutostos, and thanks to myself who is acting as Niyi Adesanya today.
You did a wonderful job.
Thank you all.
Can he join us? Can he join us?
I was trying to look for him. I was trying to look for him again with the Angel he joined with, but I'm not sure I can get it. So I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. So just okay. Kenny, you want to tell us something about that? Is Pastor Niyi going to join us just before we end this show? I can see Kenny. Can you tell us something about that? So I'll just read some comments. I don't know if you saw the comments, Money King. Interesting comment. Someone says you know. Someone says, I mean, you were just talking. And then the idea of being nice. I'm sure we all understand you, even though you tried to be very.
Oh yeah.
So guys, he has said you should be nice. Supreme Thought, yes, and I am looking for. Okay, yes, I've seen him now. Thank you. Yeah. So that's the boss.
Yes.
Pastor Niyi, thank you for Entreprenatal series. It's been an amazing one. This is where we.
Oh, I can see Solomon now.
So you cannot see me since.
And nurture.
Thank you.
I am here. Can you see me?
We can see you,
yes,
sir.
Well, let me start by saying, Vera, thank you so much for being Niyi Adesanya today. I think you even did better than Niyi Adesanya will ever do. So thank you. Keep it up.
Thank
and
you,
then Tosin, our choice of you co-hosting is very, very visible to all because you are a subject matter expert. So thank you so much for that. And then again, my son, in whom I'm well pleased.
Thank you, sir.
Solomon, any day, raw, concise, pragmatic, and then is result oriented.
Thank you, sir.
I love him to be. And thank you so much for making this worth the while.
Thank you.
And you know, sometimes when you are things like this, you always want to make sure when you are listening in and then the content, what you guys are pulling out of Solomon, the way you guys are asking those questions, and even the participants shows that this is something that we should do more often and then keep it going and going and going and going.
Yes, sir.
And I also say is that it was Vera that came up with all the subject what we'll discuss this week, that week. And then today it was Tosin that came up with almost all the questions, apart from the one asked from the participants. You see, what I just do is probably to just pick up. Even my handle is Kenny that does all the background stuff. So you see, what would I have done without these beautiful ladies and then Kenny? So thank you so much for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Every Thursday will be at 7 p.m. every Thursday. Also, they join us. We'll be having Victor Gbenga Folabi with us on Saturday. And you don't want to miss that. For those of you who are in business, or you know somebody who's already in business, so we come and talk about commercialization and all those things, and knowing how to sustain your business. Because I'm more of sustainability. I always tell people profitability is not the end game. It's more like process. I'm more interested in the end game. And you know what? When it comes to sustainability, you can never get to the end. Because every time you're trying to sustain, 50 years, 1,000 years, you're trying to sustain it and everything. So that's what, when you see the brand Niyi Adesanya, when it comes to business, it's all about sustainability. It's all about moving on and making sure that the business lasts. Every one of us want to work and make sure that our children can reap from our sweat. That's all the things. So Solomon, thank you again. My regards to Eldorado.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you,
you can watch and I'll allow Vera to take over. Vera.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Niyi. So we've come to the end of today's program. Like Pastor Niyi said, join us at the business webinar series. Okay, yes, that's Kenny just dropped a comment there. He says, if you want to join the business webinar series happening every Saturday in the next 1 or 2 months, please go to Niyi Adesanya's bio and register. Register because you don't want to miss it. The first week, it was amazing. We talked about the Nokia story. Niyi Adesanya gave us some case studies that it was really, really super. Right? Last week, we had the professor himself with us, Pastor Tommy. It was mind-shifting. So you don't want to miss this Saturday. Go to Niyi Adesanya's bio and register for this Saturday's episode. Next week, Thursday, we'll be here again for another episode of the Entreprenatal series. And until then, see you. Bye. So, Olatos, I want to say bye to our viewers for today. And the Money King.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in.